April, the entire cast flew to Spain and met up in a hotel for a read-through. It was now just 3 months to transmission.
Being actors, we got there interested and excited and optimistic.
Oh, the read-through, yeah, that was great. First of all, I didn't know what a read-through was. And everybody was like, whoa, they all like speaking so nicely. And then it was my turn with this thick German accent going, what the.
Some of the experienced actors started to get a bit edgy.
It was the most strange experience because we had people there who could have been good actors, but did not have the master of the English language, and why should they? I couldn't speak Swiss, and I certainly couldn't speak Dutch.
I was very worried that there were too many inexperienced and in fact rank amateurs that had been selected.
At the end of the read-through, Julia Smith gave one of the directors a note to give to me. And the director came over quietly and said, I think you're a bit over the top, and I hope you're not going to do it like that because it's very broad Scots and it's not very good. To which I replied, I am the least of your worries.
I think that was the first time that I got a sinking feeling in my stomach. I had to sort of boost my morale and say, come on, no, this is going to be wonderful, come on. It's going to be good, it's going to be great, we'll make it work.
We all said, we can do it, we can do it. It's been worse than this before that have come into a huge success.
So everything seemed like it was going to be fine. But now politics entered the brew. In 1992, barriers were tumbling across Europe. So Julia, under pressure from higher-ups, told Tony to bring the non-British characters to the fore and make it more continental. But the changes left Tony struggling.
They said I had to find a way so that they could have speaking parts. And you didn't know what language you were writing in. It should have been their natural language, but it wasn't. You know, everybody spoke English, and they don't. But they were asking me to distort the truth.
As the storyline started landing on scriptwriter Tony Jordan's desk, he was bemused by the changing landscape.
We'd have a script meeting and we'd all sit around and we'd talk about stories and we'd talk about the characters and talk about everything else. And then suddenly there'd be a Danish family. And you think, Danish? But it's fine, it's okay, it's no problem, go away, I was fine. Oh, there's probably a big story coming through that we don't know about. And then 2 weeks later we'd have another script meeting and everything was going fine and we just got our heads around the Danish character or whatever it was, and suddenly there was a French family. And then 2 weeks later we've got a German character. And I remember, driving in with another writer, joking about, what was going to be there this week. We were going to have a family from Kazakhstan, or what was going to happen. And if Little England was about a siege mentality, about Brits abroad in a fort, surrounded by the foreigners and trying to survive, then inviting foreigners inside the fort didn't seem to make much sense.
Confirmation that his vision was slipping away came when Tony was told that Little England wasn't an appropriate title.
BBC Scotland, they said, wouldn't do something called Little England. Well, I thought they missed the point and the irony of it. But, finally we had to accept the title we got.
Little England became Eldorado. As the original idea slipped away, Tony found himself trying to create a world he didn't believe in, trying to create a world that, unlike EastEnders, he didn't know.
It was all to do with reflecting Europe as it was, but it had no depth. It was just Euro porridge.
With 2 months to go, they had to start filming to have episodes ready to transmit 3 times a week. But the village still wasn't ready, which was something of a problem for director Jeff Feld.
We organised ourselves so that we'd use the sets that were available for 3, 4, 5 weeks programmes ahead. So for the actors in particular, this was a very difficult process to be working on so many episodes at one time.
The actors found themselves on a relentless treadmill,
Rain forecast all this week.
churning out scene
Guess what? I'm really starving.
after scene
We're going to have to do something about your Julio Anglaises.
after scene.
Can't stop. Haven't done the all-time yet. Snoy! Snoy, you went up.
There was no time to consider what was right, what was wrong, what needed changing. All that we could see was getting the programme on the air, nothing else.
It's no good arguing with you. I just won't listen.
No, because every other word you say is another lie.
It was very, very nerve-wracking because we did only one take. At the time, I thought this was amazing. We must be good. We must be good. It's one take. Until finally I found out that basically it boils down to the fact that if there's no microphone hanging into the frame, if there is nobody standing in the background, if there's nobody making a noise, and the lines are sort of there and audible, then that's great because we have no time.
As things got more and more chaotic on set, the production turned to Julia for help. Only she was starting to feel under siege from the mammoth production.
Julia had a reputation for being difficult, and everyone knew that. And sometimes she'd be very forbidding, and if you approached her sometimes with a problem, she'd adopt, just go and do it, just go and do it. And so in the end, problems weren't always brought to her.
To make matters worse, the long-standing partnership of Julia and Tony began to crumble under the strain.
We always had skirmishes, but then we were famous for that. But this time, we were in a much trickier situation, and we'd always stood by each other on that. Now we were at a point when we couldn't. So, I mean, we attacked each other, because there was no one else to blame.
As the drama unfolded behind the scenes, the BBC publicity machine shifted into high gear. With transmission 1 month away, the corporation held its biggest press event ever, and over 50 journalists descended on the Costa del Sol.
I think it was probably the most hyped programme that I can ever remember, and it was launched in a great feel-good atmosphere, no expense spared. On the first night we were there, we were sort of treated to a very sumptuous paella Spanish banquet in the grounds of the hotel, overlooking the sea, plenty of glasses of sangria, and we were feeling quite well disposed towards a soap opera.
It was so important to the corporation that BBC One boss Jonathan Powell himself had flown in to promote his pet project.
But it will actually start transmitting in 3.5 weeks' time on July the 6th. This is a piece of quality entertainment.
Tony Holland wanted to be somewhere else.
The press conference was something I really wish I hadn't been invited to, but I was highly pressured. All the brass had flown over and there was to be a do. And I thought, well, in for a penny, in for a pound, I shall just have to do it, and I'll, as my agent said, kick high and smile.
Behind the razzmatazz and smiles, the actors were having first night nerves.
It was quite scary because I had no idea whether the programme was any good or not. I really didn't. It was very important that this got off to a good start. And it felt difficult because one had to be up front and going to be wonderful, and aren't we lucky to be doing it?
We were basically told this is going to be the next big thing. It's going to be bigger than EastEnders. Okay. And of course you wanted to believe. Of course you wanted to believe. You were in it, you wanted to believe, yes, this is going to be good.
Did you enjoy it?
The BBC felt totally confident. There was not even the question of, but what if it doesn't work? What if it's a failure?